in profound shock, looked like he was probably dead when I first saw him. But Dr. Carrico thought he saw some agonal respiration. So that triggered the resuscitation effort. Dr. Perry started a tracheotomy, and I did a cut down on the left upper arm, a venesection to insert a polyethylene catheter to get some IV fluids going and blood, with the idea that perhaps he had just died and we might be able to resuscitate him. But we didn't want to delay in the examination and end up with somebody that might be a vegetable.
And say nothing of the fact that this was the president. That's a physician's standard operating procedure. If you see any glimmer of hope that you can resume a life, you'll do all of those things you just mentioned, correct?
That's correct. And in retrospect, I think if the public had said you didn't do anything, you could have been criticized, and we felt that it was better to do something than to do nothing.
You go home and you're numb, knowing the patient you all had just lost, probably DOA, and then you get the call about Lee Harvey Oswald. Did you think, like the rest of America, that we were coming unglued at the seams?
Pretty stressing 2 days, and then I was at the hospital on Sunday morning, and then the call came in to the operating room area where I was, and the nurse spoke for a few seconds and turned around and said, "Dr. Jones, they've shot Oswald and they're bringing him here." And that's exactly how we felt, and I felt. And I went up the hall because Dr. Perry and the chief of anesthesia, Dr. Jenkins, were in Dr. Jenkins' office. And I went in there and I said, "You aren't going to believe this, but they've shot Oswald and they're bringing him here." So we went downstairs from the operating room on the second floor to the emergency room on in the basement, and Oswald was not there yet. And we were there in trauma room 2 where Governor Connolly had been brought. And they wheeled Oswald in within a matter of a minute or so after we arrived in the room. So we were there when he came in.
And were there signs of life with that patient?
There were signs of life with him. I was not going to make the
heroic efforts.
The mistake that we did, perhaps, by not listening to the heart initially. So I listened to Oswald's heart. He had a heartbeat, and obviously did, because he lived for over an hour after we resuscitated him. But it was somewhat interesting because Dr. Jenkins intubated him, put a tube in the windpipe. I knew that he had been shot here. We could see an entrance wound right here, what was perceived to be an entrance wound, and just above the rib cage. And so I did a cut down in the same area, not a customary place that you'd start a vein, an IV, but I did an incision, put in the catheter, got the IV going, knowing that he had an injury to his chest, put in a chest tube here, and we had him from the emergency room to the second floor operating room in about 7 or 8 minutes after he came in.
Give me 15 seconds, Doctor, on how your city has recovered. They're kind of helping to mark this anniversary. It's been a long, hard time for Dallas.
I think the development of the JFK Museum has done a lot to be able to save the Texas School Book Depository, to have annual visits. There are organizations that come here every year to visit this place and to convince the United States that this could have happened anywhere. It just happened to have happened in Dallas.
Dr. Ronald Jones, thank you, sir, for
coming
by the broadcast tonight. We're going to pause here from Dallas. We'll have much more of some onlookers here pausing to look at the site tonight. We'll have much more of our special coverage from Dallas as the broadcast continues this evening. Coming up, a special look at the question, what if this president had lived?